Hello everybody. I want to make a very short video because something very important just happened in the White House, which is really kind of unprecedented, at least not that I can remember it in my time, that we had a shouting match at the White House between two presidents, the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine. What just unfolded here is really quite unheard of, and it's part of Trump's new form of, some people call it diplomacy, I would call it Trump's way of negotiating great power deals, or although it's more the deals between a great power and its satellite states. Why don't you watch the video first? It's about 7-8 minutes long, and I will comment right after that. Please have a look.
This thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way, so that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden, of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014
2014.
and 2015.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make,
Um,
because the attitudes have to change.
what if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia
This is quite something, isn't it? I mean, first of all, the fact that you had this going on for so long, that there was a public dispute on camera, and that both sides actually now showed that they're on a completely different page in front of Oval Office cameras that's now being broadcasted to the entire world. This is putting Ukraine into a very weak spot. The fact that Donald Trump said you are in a weak spot and you have no cards, you have no leverage, and you need to be grateful. This is just a way that nobody thought the relationship would unfold. I mean, just remember that for the last 4 years, the pretense was that Ukraine and the United States are equal partners in an alliance against pure evil, which is coming from Russia. And now the change that Mr. Trump brings in is that he makes it clear who's the who's the boss and who's the client state. And to a good extent, Mr. Trump did that already with the French and the British when Macron visited on Monday, and then Starmer visited on Thursday, although it never went to this length. But the thing is, Mr. Trump publicly basically negotiated with these people in front of cameras, because this is the fastest way for him to assert his position, and he makes it utterly clear to the entire populace of the United States where he is headed with these negotiations. And this is new. This is not how diplomacy is usually done in closed door sessions where you build up trust. He is doing this all publicly, and he's doing it in a way which really shows you how he learned from business, how to really put people in a weak spot. I mean, just look at this setup here. This is a very uncomfortable way of negotiating, right? In these chairs, because these chairs for Donald Trump, this chair is kind of okay because he's a tall man and he's big and he can fill it, and he also has the self-confidence to fill a big chair and sit there with broad shoulders. But for somebody like Zelensky, with his size, he swims in this chair and he constantly has to slouch forward. And there is, if this was a press briefing where these people were standing behind a podium, then Zelensky would have a podium to hold on to, and the podium would be in front of him. That would be a much more comfortable way to convey any kind of message. But being forced to convey a message sitting, slouching, and basically just showing yourself in a weak spot, that in and of itself is already a very uncomfortable situation. Being in the Oval Office of the President of the United States, having cameras running, is again uncomfortable. And I do think Mr. Trump set Mr. Zelensky up here, also cornering him together with his vice president and actually pushing Mr. Zelensky, and he fell for it. He couldn't hold himself back. He asked that question back, and he showed himself disobedient. He should have remained silent at this point. He shouldn't have attacked his host just out of strategic reasons. Although the problem, of course, that Mr. Zelensky has at this point is if he doesn't at least try to stand up for Ukraine, I mean, he will look incredibly weak at home. So putting him on the spot in a situation like this would end up bad for him either way. But talking back and then actually ending up in this shouting match with the President of the United States is actually something that helps Donald Trump more. Although Mr. Zelensky is here in an impossible position. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing he could do that makes this anyhow better, because again, if he didn't stand up, if he didn't talk back, he would look incredibly weak at home. The only thing he didn't do, and that he should have done, was to actually drop the mask on his part as well. The one thing he didn't say is, you pushed us into this. You told us to fight this war. We did, and now you're backstabbing us. But he can't say that. He can't flip the script the way that Donald Trump is flipping the script. Donald Trump has the big advantage of being the new president. He's not Mr. Biden, and he said so several times. What you negotiated, that was with the old guy. That was with Biden, and Biden was bad. I'm the new guy, and I'm good, and I know what I do. He has that benefit that the presidency of the United States changes, so he can hide behind that. Zelensky cannot. Zelensky at this point would have to counterattack by saying, this is your war. This is a war that the United States sought and wanted. And by the way, Brian Berletic made that very important argument that the hostility towards Russia is not just something that happened under Biden. It goes further back, and also the de-escalation that now Mr. Trump is doing is also going further back. And we had the escalation under Obama, we had the reset, right? So Brian Berletic argues there is a long series of this tactic of de-escalation, just in order to regroup and then push back against Russia again, or attack Russia again. But the point is, also under Donald Trump, there was no genuine kind of try to really come to an understanding with Russia. I mean, Mr. Trump actually in this video says, we gave you the javelins. I gave you the javelins, he says, right? Those are the javelins, those are the weapons that Trump gave to Ukraine during his first presidency. So he actually says so. He says, even I armed you. And this is the moment where Mr. Zelensky should have said, look, you caused this mess. You pushed us into it. But he cannot, because he is wedded. His whole persona is wedded to the narrative that Ukraine was attacked unprovoked, that Ukraine never did anything wrong, that there's no provocations that ever happened. I mean, he tried to set that up, right? He set up the Russians kept killing our people even after the Minsk agreements. He, of course, glosses over the fact that we now have Merkel and Hollande and Poroshenko and so on record saying we meant this time we meant these agreements to buy us time to regroup, to rearm, and the rearmament is what happened. The javelins are part of this rearmament. What he forgets to mention is that it was the Ukrainian side that time and again also shelled again the Donbas. 14,000 people died between 2014 and 2022 in the Donbas, most of them in the cities and villages of the Donbas, people who got shelled by the Ukrainian side. So this is what he leaves out, of course, but this is where he just goes back to his version of the narrative, and he has to. So what he cannot do is he cannot actually counterattack in this exchange in a way that would help him to actually properly also expose the other side. So he is wedded to that stupid narrative of the war, the stupid narrative that on this channel and on other channels we've been talking about again and again. But what Mr. Trump does is he uses that stupid narrative now against Mr. Zelensky, because he himself, he can switch, he flips it. He's the new guy. Mr. Zelensky is the old guy. Mr. Zelensky is wedded to what has happened so far. So what we've seen over the last week, and Alexander Mercuris from the Duran, he pointed that out on his channel just in his very last episode from a couple of hours ago. What we've seen is that the Europeans, together with Ukraine, tried to push Mr. Trump into giving security guarantees, not to Ukraine, but giving security guarantees, a backstop to British and French forces who would go in and work as peacekeepers for Mr. Zelensky. I mean, to send troops to Ukraine, and which in its total would be exactly the same as giving security guarantees to Ukraine itself. If you give security guarantees to French and British troops that go into Ukraine and tell them, if you get attacked by the Russians, then we will come to your aid, then you basically have the same outcome as if you gave security guarantees to Ukraine. And first Macron tried on Monday, then he failed. Then Mr. Starmer tried on Thursday and failed. And now Mr. Zelensky, who was supposed to seal the deal, failed as well on Friday, and didn't only fail. I mean, Trump really used this opportunity to put himself in the strongest possible position. And actually what he did now is that he says that the aggrieved party is actually the United States, because you're ungrateful. And now he can connect this to ungratefulness. And the Europeans tried to create this they tried to fish Mr. Trump. They tried to get him by proposing the mineral deal. It's very important. Alexander Mercuris points this out actually very, very accurately, that the mineral deal was originally proposed. This was an idea by Ukraine. And the idea was to use the mineral deal in order to incentivize the United States to send more weapons back in fall, when that was blocked by Congress. And the mineral deal now that Mr. Trump uses is he's saying, like, look, okay, this deal, this 350 billion, We want that, but we don't want it in order to give you more weapons. We want it in repayment for the weapons and the assistance we already gave you. And this is, of course, the opposite of what Mr. Zelensky thought about. This is not an incentive for future weapons. It's a repayment for previous weapons. I mean, Mr. Trump completely flipped the script also here. And Mr. Trump now wants this, and he drills it in, and now he creates a narrative under which the aggrieved party is the United States, because Ukraine is not grateful enough. And he can use that. He can go on. He can go further on. Say like you are insulting us, and you are abusing us, and we are the victims, right? This is what a bully approach often does. It flips the victim bully relationship, and he's doing so. I'm not passing a judgment here, not at all. This is just, in my view, what's going on, and he's putting himself into the aggrieved position, and he can use that going forward, as long as Zelensky and Ukraine and the Europeans don't come out and saying like, look, but we told them not to go to war with Russia, and we told them not to make peace. As long as they're not willing to say that, he is now going to be able to use the you are ungrateful. You're not saying thank you enough because we are helping you. We are saving you. This is unprecedented in the way that Mr. Trump here conducts great power diplomacy. But again, it is diplomacy among the top dog with the satellites, right? And the satellites are now being put in place. This is going to have negative repercussions, of course, for the whole way that the United States is being perceived as an alliance leader. It's the masks are coming off. In the sense, it's good because it's going to incentivize the satellites to actually to change their security strategy and policy. But this is a big slap in the face of all the satellites who played along with the United States, as the United States says, and now it's the United States that smacks them across the face and puts them into their place and stops pretending that they are equal partners. They're not. So Mr. Trump is just actually, in this sense, being extremely honest to his own people and to the people of Europe and to the people of Ukraine. He's actually representing the world the way it actually works. And this is not nice. It's not nice. Not nice at all. It's a bad world. It's not a fair world, but it's the reality. It's the reality that actually has been playing out there over the past. So we'll see what's going to happen. This is a new way of interacting. Any kind of leader who goes to Washington now will have to be very careful and hopefully learn a lesson that Donald Trump knows exactly how to use running video cameras for his political purposes. Thank you.